Hey, Sam, guess what?
What?
It ain't over till it's over.
You are correct. Man, that Utah game, Andrew, that was some game. Did not expect to win that. I'll be totally honest.
Yeah, we went about 58 minutes of hockey thinking that, this was going to be they had a couple of days off, knocked off the rust, maybe some things to build off of in that third period. 7-1-2 in the last 10 games. It's all good. And they said, nope, don't worry. We got this. We're the better team. And it's going to take us about 90 seconds to prove that. So just a stunning victory by this team, and by now we should really have faith in these guys with everything that they've had to overcome this year. This seems like not really that big of an obstacle compared to things like not having Slavin all year.
I know. Very, very happy with that comeback victory against Utah. And also, as we get things started off, just remember we have a great partnership with SeatGeek. You get $20 off your first purchase if you use promo code Caniac Report, all one word. It is a great deal if you're trying to save money on some tickets. And another thing, too, if you're watching us on YouTube, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you never miss another episode. And if you're listening to us wherever you get your podcast, please leave a rating and a review. Really helps us out. And another thing, too, if you guys noticed, we did not release an episode Monday. Andrew, you were snow plowing, and I was sick with the flu.
Yeah, so we both had the chills, and we both were kind of hating our lives for a couple of days there. So polar opposite reasons, but it's good to be back doing this. I was thinking about all of our listeners. Thank you to everyone who was keeping me company on X, talking about possible trades and stuff like that. I'm going to try to do more of that stuff with you guys. But yeah, Sam, let's get into it.
Yes, definitely. So, a couple things have happened around the league since our last episode. One of them is Andre Palat. We know.
Go Canes!
Attaboy, Sam.
Andre Palat, he gets traded to the Islanders, Andrew, and New Jersey had to give up some picks because of that contract. They had to give up a 2026 third round pick, 2027 sixth round pick, and the Devils get Slipakov. Andrew, you can tell this was a cap dump type of move.
Yeah, definitely a cap dump. But that being said, I know Palat's definitely in the twilight of his career, but come playoff times for the Islanders, you never know that that experience really is valuable, even if he is just a guy who's the healthy scratch and just giving advice to some of those younger players. I'm not really sure what the Devils are doing right now. Like, yeah, it's a cap dump, but they were going to trade Dougie, then Luke Hughes gets hurt. Now they're probably not going to trade Dougie. It really feels to me like the GM there, Tom Fitzgerald, is kind of trying to save his neck a little bit after there was all that buzz and hype about them possibly, getting Quinn Hughes and, uniting the three of them. And then that fell flat. So love seeing it happen to New Jersey, though, just because between our history with them, me reluctantly being raised by Rangers fans, there's teams I don't like, and there's teams whose existence I don't respect, and that's the Devils.
Yes, I completely understand, especially since they have, you look at New Jersey's history. I mean, they have a player who's probably the nastiest player ever in Scott Stevens. So,
they're if they win another playoff series against them, it should be a law that they have to build a giant Soviet era-esque statue of Rod Brind'Amour just overlooking the New Jersey Turnpike, just so everyone in that state knows who's really in charge. Because as a player and a coach, oh my God, owns that team.
Oh, he really does. But yeah, interesting move for the Devils. Obviously, you can tell they're trying to create some cap space here. But I mean, it's funny because I remember when they signed Dougie Hamilton, obviously the rumors has it that they're trying to trade him. I was not in favor of that contract that they gave him at $9 million. And it seems like they're kind of regretting it. But New Jersey, Andrew, they're not going to be a playoff team. It's very unlikely they become one.
Yeah, unless a team like the Islanders absolutely falls off, which I mean, that's an interesting team between just how much
Yeah.
the young guns are kind of carrying some of the older guys there. So it could happen, but it's getting late quick as far as teams on the outside looking in. It's been such a tight race where everyone's in it, and we're starting to see these teams start to fall off. And I think New Jersey's going to be in a situation where they have to, if they're smart, they won't do it like the Rangers did and basically, put out a memo to the world saying that we're throwing in the towel, because I think that's going to hurt the Rangers in their trade negotiations. But New Jersey's got to think about what they want to be, and if this isn't the year, what assets do you have that you can flip? Because uh, the pieces are all there. Jack Hughes is incredible.
He got hurt tonight.
He did. Oh, that
Yeah,
sucks. As an American, that sucks.
it does.
So, oh man, I didn't know that. Oh, I was just talking all this crap about the Devils, and now my patriotism is trumping that. We need our starting center, but
Nice pun there with the Trump thing.
yeah, well, crap. We'll leave the politics out of it because
Yeah,
that's gonna get everyone fired up. But everyone's just so civil these days. But I think that team's kind of lost in the wilderness right now, which for how much talent they have is kind of not acceptable.
Yeah, I know. But we'll see how the Devils do. And recently, too, Andrew, we have had a couple of extensions. Ben Chariot from Detroit, he gets a 3-year extension at $3.85 million. Andrew, that's a very good stay at home, pretty big defenseman for Detroit that's doing fantastic under Steve Yzerman.
Yeah, the Yzer plan is finally coming through, and with not a whole lot of time to spare, I think if this wasn't starting to click for them this season, they might have moved on. But just an absolute stud on D, stay at home, lockdown guy, and for all the young offensive talent that team has, that having a guy locked up for long term for them, I think makes a lot of sense. So good bit of business for Stevie Y.
Yep, completely agree. And another defenseman got extended. Sam Malinsky got extended by Colorado. It's nice to see a guy like Sam, who has the same first name as I do, get extended. 4 years, $4.7 million contract. That's another very good defenseman for a team that seems to be in its kind of own tier in this league right now.
Yeah, and good bit of business for them too. And I mean, at this point, if Colorado's offering you a chance to stay long term, I would take it too.
Exactly.
Seems like a cool place to live. I don't think that Nathan McKinnon or McCarr is slowing down anytime soon. Joe Sakic seems like a good guy to call boss. And yeah, that's a scary team, man. But even still, even with all that, I look at the top 6 to 8 teams, which Carolina is a part of, and even with the regular season, how much it does seem like there's a gap between them, I still think that this is anybody's cup to win, because even the Avalanche have shown a little bit of signs of being human here lately.
Yeah, especially tonight. I think last time I saw the score, Montreal was winning 7-3 against Colorado. Dang.
Which case in point, to all the fans, I know some people like they live and die with every single regular season game. This is your case in point. No one in their right mind is saying that Montreal is 4 goals better than Colorado. It happens. Every team in this league is good. Every team has superstars.
Plus, I've tried to live game by game as a Canes fan growing up. I wouldn't recommend it, especially during the dark ages.
No, I'm surprised we all made it through that. That was a time to be alive. But
plenty of nights crying. Let's just say that.
Yeah, gotta take it in chunks, folks. But on a night like tonight, we're gonna overreact to this one game because, man, what a win!
I know, great win. So let's go ahead and talk about the Hurricanes here. Andrew, we do have a few things to talk about. One of them, Noah Phillip, obviously he's been battling concussion protocol. He has been put on waivers, and guess what? He did clear, so that's good news for the Hurricanes as he stays with them. And again, he adds more depth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think the forward depth is the biggest question mark I have about this team right now. going into the, say everything stays as is right now going into the playoffs, I think you look at the three defensive pairs we have going right now. You got your two lockdown ones, and then if Ghost continues to play solid on D, then him and Nikishin's a pretty good offensive line, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have Nystrom and Riley as your seventh and eighth. Like I can't remember a time that their depth looked that good. So it's the forward that's the question mark. Whether they decide they need to fix that by adding another top piece or by just adding more depth players so that we don't run into an injury problem. But I do think a guy with size like Phillip does kind of just gives you a little bit of insurance on that fourth line, which hopefully you don't need, but it's nice to have.
Yes, it definitely is. And we have a bit of a trade too since our last episode. A minor trade. Gave him Babe Ruther to Buffalo for Nuchev. I believe that's how you pronounce his last name. But Andrew, not much to say about this trade. It's just a very minor prospects AHL type of trade. I think probably the reason why they traded Babe Ruther is just because you have guys like Nystrom stepping up. Might not need Babe Ruther in the NHL,
Yeah, because they even have, Charles Alexis Legault coming up too. And
Exactly.
hopefully he gets better soon too. And I was really impressed with his game when he had his chance to come up with the Canes.
And he started skating recently.
Yeah, which, I'm excited to see what he does because that kid is big. He had a halfway decent slap shot. I felt like Nystrom's game was more well-rounded, but Alexis Legault looks like he could be more of a specialized defenseman. But whenever we're talking about a trade and you have to, really squint to make sure that you're saying the guy's names right, then it's not a big deal. It's probably not, it's not something that, unless you're a real diehard nut like you and I are, like most fans aren't even going to be aware of it.
Yep, exactly. And we have good news on the injury front too, Andrew. Ghost, he came back tonight. Nice to see him coming back. We've called him the MVP this season just because of the amount of points he's put up on the blue line.
Mm-hmm.
Not his best game, but even with playing a game that hasn't really been good for him, he still manages to put up 2 goals.
Yeah, just found a way to pull a couple of rabbits out of his hat. I had to think of a family-friendly way to say the thought I just had. Rabbit out of the hat is what we're going to go with.
Yeah.
But he's just such a perfect defenseman for this team, man. I think, like, we all talk about how Jordan Stahl is like what Rod Brind'Amour wants as a centerman. And I think that's really true. I think we need to start talking a little bit about how I think, obviously Jacob Slavin is the standard, but in terms of how Rod wants this system to work with the offense, with the defenseman really coming into the rush and being a big part of the offense, I think Ghost is kind of the standard there and continues to prove, what we've been saying all year, right? That if the season ended today, he's your MVP.
I would completely agree. And I kind of just to spin off of that, like, when it comes to how Ghost plays, it's basically like that's how Brind'Amour wants an offensive defenseman to play specifically. We know how Jacob Slavin plays. He's that stay-at-home defensive defenseman. It's just nice. And we've had, offensive defensemen play well before. Tony DeAngelo is one. Dougie Hamilton is another. But it seems like Ghost, he's playing at another level than those players, which is really good.
Yeah, which I think is, we all knew he was capable of this. Maybe not for as just just this sustained period of time that he's done.
Yeah,
his defensive play this year, he's stepped up. Having to, for the most part of the season, playing alongside a guy like a Nikishin, who, no shade to him, he's not Jacob Slavin. Like, he's going to make mistakes. Wouldn't call him slow, but definitely not the fastest defenseman in the world too. So Ghost is having to play with a little bit more responsibility than maybe he planned on going into this season. Because if I'm remembering our, talking about this team going into the year, we were thinking it was going to be Slavin and Ghost as your top pair.
Mm-hmm.
Which, come playoffs, that might still be what happens. But I'm just so impressed with the way he's just really kind of built his game. And for a guy who's, he's not a young player. So I think what you're seeing is just all of his experience, all the knowledge he's had playing in this league for this long. He's putting it to good use, and it's really allowed his defensive partner in Nikishin to kind of take some strides.
Yeah, and I had my doubts about that pair heading into the season because I was just like, "Oh no, you have a rookie playing with an offensive-minded defenseman. You just don't. You think that's risky on paper, but the eye test shows different. It shows that they can play very, very well together. And I talked about the possible players when we got Keandre Miller, and I was like, there's no wrong answer here. There really isn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that Miller Walker pair looks pretty solid too.
Yep.
Right now it's looking like we have two shutdown pairs and a pair that Rod can kind of shelter a little bit to put out there in these offensive scenarios. And when you do that, you also know that there's the possibility that Nikishin is going to absolutely bury some guy into the boards. I'm excited to see what he does come playoff time when things get ratcheted up. That fight he had where he basically got dragged into it and just absolutely lit that poor kid up. There's a few guys that I'm really excited to see what they look like come playoff time, because I have no doubt that Rod is kind of pulling him back a little bit.
Oh yeah,
this isn't worth the injury risk. It's not worth letting the game get out of hand. But come playoff times, all of that's gone, and I think that's something that Rod, as a coach, has learned. I've heard him reference that in a few interviews he's done this past offseason, that I think he's finally kind of come around to the thought of maybe dropping the gloves isn't how you do it, but this whole notion that if we play the game, we squeaky clean, that it's going to benefit us, when the league has made it very clear that come playoff time, if it's not, manslaughter, then it's fine.
Yeah. Have you seen the rumors of us possibly trading Nikishin and all that type of stuff?
Yeah. I think a little bit of that is going to be, other GMs trying to plant that story.
Yeah.
Because in my opinion, the only reason I'm moving him is if the return is something that resolves our 2C need by
long term,
by turning Aho into the 2C. That's the only reason I would trade Nikishin, is if you get, off the top of my head, I can think of maybe 7 or 8 centers that I would say are undoubtedly better than Sebastian Aho. There's probably 5 or 6 more that you could say, depending on how they fit into the team, would beat him. Yeah. But there's 6 or 7 guys that I'd be willing to move Nikishin for, only because if you can make Aho your second line center, then let's go with that. That's the only thing better than having this kid who the sky's the limit for him. He's not, he's a rookie, but I think we take for granted how he is a little bit older than your typical rookie. I want to say he's 24, maybe 25, but
he's 24.
So, yeah, so just maybe starting to scratch his prime, and you can see he's learning. That saucer pass he had to Jarvis was a thing of beauty.
It was, and we'll recap that game too here.
Yeah, so I get why it's out there. I get why he would be a trade piece. I think the Canes have plenty of other valuable things that they can piece together. If there's a defenseman I'm looking at who could get moved, it's maybe Joel Nystrom, only because of what he's shown and that contract that he signed. That's got to be super appealing to any team that's looking for a rebuild.
Oh yeah.
That being said, I hope we keep him. I love his game.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. If it makes Aho second line center, okay, I might be willing to trade him. But Andrew, we've seen teams before trade young, promising players on the blue line. Probably not the best example, but a young defenseman in Bowen Byram got traded to Buffalo. But it's just one of those things where I feel like you'll regret it unless you get that player that is going to be a significant advantage. I think you'll regret a trade of a guy like Nikishin.
I agree, especially when he not only has so much potential, but he's actively filling a lot of things that this team needs. They need, this team has always thrived when they have that, bona fide threat to just let a missile off from the blue line. And we've seen it when he's been confident in his shot. Not only does it create goals for himself, but it's such a heavy shot that whether it's going off the goalie's pad or even off the boards, it creates opportunities. It's not to say that there's not other guys in the team that can do that, but he's just got such a natural gift at it. And the edge he plays with without really he doesn't seem like a nasty player. He just throws big hits. He's just that much of
and we need that.
Yeah, badly.
We
badly.
do.
And it seems like him and Svetch have a little bit of a bond going. And I think that that's something we take for granted sometimes, that, granted, guys like Svetch have really seemed to have, immersed themselves in the community and, living in North Carolina. It's a great place to live. I love it here in Boston, but I, still call Raleigh in that area home for a reason. But, when these guys are, in a whole different side of the world, whole different culture, even a side of the world that's, maybe a little bit, scary based on things they might have been told as kids, which is unfortunate. Having that kind of camaraderie is huge. And I think that is important to consider when you're building an international team. These guys need that kind of, you can go to your buddy's house and get, your hometown meals cooked for you kind of stuff. And I think that's, important. I think it's something that we take for granted.
Oh, it definitely is. So yeah, Andrew, let's go ahead and get to a sponsor, and then we'll get to recapping both the Ottawa and the Utah game.
The jaw-dropping moments that make hockey, hockey. Experience them all with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. Missouri listeners, listen up. DraftKings Sportsbook is now live in the Show Me states. New customers, this one's for you. Bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $200 in bonus bets instantly. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN to turn $5 into $200 in bonus bets if your bet wins. In partnership with DraftKings, the crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Blue Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, pass-through of per-wager tax may apply in Illinois. 21 plus age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Restrictions apply. Bet must win to receive bonus bets which expire in 7 days. Minimum odds required. For additional terms and responsible gaming resources, see dkng.co/audio. Limited time offer. Copyright NHL 25, all rights reserved.
Alrighty, Andrew, the Ottawa game. So this game, while I was lying on the couch feeling sick, this game, obviously, with Ottawa, Andrew, first period, very impressive from the Hurricanes.
Yeah, you can tell that this is a group of really nice guys. My understanding is that that night Ottawa was the coldest place on earth, and they did the locals a favor by just setting the Ottawa Senators on fire. So good on them.
Yep, and Ottawa, like, you can tell their major weakness is goaltending for them, and I thought that was kind of showed. Now, here's the thing: James Reimer played that game. I love James Reimer, but he's not the player that he was when he played with us.
Yeah, no, he's kind of, at the tail end of his career. I'm happy to see him still out there, doing his thing, collecting a check, doing what he loves, but. If that's the solution in net for Ottawa, I think I hope that they enjoyed that rush of last year of making the playoffs, because I think that's looking to be not a fluke, because I do like a lot of the pieces that they had, but I think that they're a little bit further from where they want to be that they might have thought coming into the season.
I would agree with that, and also I think part of it too. Just looking at that Atlantic division as a whole, man, that is a tough division, very tough.
Yeah, it's the division of teams that just won't die. The Bruins, the Lightning, they just won't go away. And I mean Boston especially, like, obviously I have a connection to that team living
Hmm.
up here. Like a bunch of my buddies are huge fans. The drummer of my band is as big of a Bruins fan as I am a Hurricanes fan. So we go back and forth a lot talking puck. And he was talking about, this is going to be the year where they win the draft lottery. And now it's, Morgan Geeky is Wayne Gretzky all of a sudden.
Yeah,
Like, will not go away. Which, I mean,
former Hurricane.
former Hurricane. And if we can talk about one of the biggest what ifs maybe for this team is because I really think when that expansion draft happened, I think they expected Ron Francis to take Jake Bean because of how much he loved drafting defensemen. And I thought that
Yep.
they thought they were going to keep Geeky because I remember liking him a lot. I didn't think he was going to be doing this, which I don't think that this is sustainable. I'm pretty sure Morgan himself has kind of said, I don't know what's going on, that I just can't miss right now.
Yeah.
But that's a heck of a player. And that division is just, it's the teams that are supposed to suck don't suck, and the teams that are supposed to go away just won't. So that might be the toughest division in the NHL right now.
Yes, it definitely is. But in the first period, Andrew, 3 goals all from the Hurricanes. You have Carrier scored from Jankowski and Chatfield. You can tell we kind of caught Ottawa on a line change there, and it was basically a 2-on-0 chance.
Mm-hmm.
And we have a 2-on-0 chance. Like, you got to score. You just have to. And we did.
Right. And, not to throw shade at them, if there were two guys you maybe don't plan on having your 2-on-0 breakaway, it's Jankowski and Carrier. But that being said, Carrier is quickly becoming one of my favorite players. And short of them making a trade, I think that Jankowski has grabbed the fourth line center role and is absolutely running with it. And good on him. This season has been one where, you show up to work, you do your job. The opportunities have been there to prove yourself. And Jankowski in these past few weeks has absolutely done that.
Yep, I completely agree. I mean, that fourth line has been playing very well. And again, as a guy who is a harsh critic of KK, I do think he has been playing good as of recently.
He's been playing well enough to stay in the lineup. I still think he could use a change of scenery, but you know what? If that happens this offseason, if you keep doing this, he just needs to embrace what he is in this league. He's got offensive potential when he's clicking, let it go, but he's a big guy who plays small, and he needs to stop that because if he can learn to play with just a little bit of nastiness, which, I mean, sometimes you can't fake it. And everything I've seen from interviews or just, videos of him interacting with people just seems like the nicest guy. But you have to be able to flip that switch. I mean, I know that's something that, obviously I'm not an NHL athlete, but I remember playing ball in high school. That's something I had to learn how to do, is to put that away for 60 minutes. And this guy is not my friend. I can dab him up after the game and make sure that he's okay. But if you're between me and the ball or me and the puck, I'm putting my shoulder through your chest. And that's what this is. Doesn't make you mean or a bad person. It's competition, and you're getting paid millions of dollars to do it. So KK, you have all the ability to do it. And this is your last chance if you want it to happen here.
Yep, definitely. And then the next goal, Andrew, this is probably the prettiest goal throughout the entire game because you have a great saucer pass. I mean, we already mentioned it, but a great saucer pass from Nikisha. Oh, so freaking beautiful. Passes it to Jarvis. Funny enough, I didn't think Jarvis scored because I remember Mike Maniscalco, like, there was a huge pause when that play was executed by Nikisha and Jarvis. I was like, wait, did we score or did we not? But we did, and what a great goal from Jarvis. That was just finished off by a great pass from Nikisha. Just wow.
Yeah, it's not too often I feel the need to make my girlfriend look at the TV so I can pause it and rewind it to show her just what happened. But that was one of those plays. Just the way it was video game stuff, man. He got it over the two odd Ottawa sticks, and it hits the ice like without any room to spare for Jarvis to just absolutely rip that one. So Nikishin continues to impress. That's what we have grown to expect from Jarvis. And these last few games, I think we've seen, the small things they need to do right. They haven't, but just the talent it has been able to carry them over the hump, which is fine for now. They need to get it better, but I don't see how you see Nikishin making plays like that.
I know,
knowing that he's not even at his full potential yet, and thinking about trading that guy, like short of again that top end guy, but I think he's a future first pair demon on this team. Possibly later.
Oh yeah, I completely agree with why we should not trade him unless it's like a Nathan McKinnon type of player. So the next goal is scored by Taylor Hall, Andrew, and that is a nice goal from Blake and Chatfield. And I mean, we're up 3-0. And to be honest, I mean, even though obviously I thought the first period was probably the best period for the Canes. I thought second and third, especially the third period, I thought it was all Ottawa. I mean, I'd never had that threat with them being up 3-0 that Ottawa was going to come back. Did you feel that? I didn't.
No, it felt like even when Ottawa was making their push, it just felt kind of like the Canes were able to somewhat comfortably go into a shell mode, which I hate when they do it. But I mean, long season, you got to take your chances to get a little bit of an easy period in when you can. But yeah, they are by far the more talented team. They executed early and were able to kind of play smart defensive hockey the rest of the way, which has kind of been the opposite of what they've done a lot of the season, where they've started slow and then have had to do these miraculous comebacks like the one we're going to talk about in a little bit.
Yep.
But that was them showing up, handling business, and let's go home. And on the road, this part of the season, you love to see them doing that.
Yes, and you have Svechnikov scoring. Funny enough about that goal, Andrew. Like, that was all the Ottawa players kicking that puck in. Svech just put it right in front of the goalie.
Yeah, and it's nice to be on the positive side of that for a change, right? Because we've had quite a few of those go off our skates. I think to stick up for Freddie Anderson a little bit here, he's had awful luck with that this season. Which speaking of him, I think fans need to kind of back off Freddie a little bit. He's starting to figure it out a little bit here. But yeah, that Ottawa win would just, to me, that felt like a lunch pail win. You're the better team. Yep. Go out there, handle business, and they got it done early and just kind of had to go through the motions the rest of the way.
Yeah, and you had Cecil scoring. I mean, Brandon Bussey could have stopped it, maybe, but I mean, he played so good. He basically, I would argue, put this team on his back in the third period, was making great saves. And another thing too, Andrew, I thought was weird is that hit on Taylor Hall. And he's the one that goes to the box. That was just odd.
Yeah, I think that was about his reaction more than the play itself, which, I mean, they gave him a 10-minute game misconduct, and then he was back in the third period. So they definitely went into the intermission. The refs probably watched the video and then took it back. But
I understand maybe a 2-minute penalty, but 10-minute misconduct, that's just...
You have to at least call it an embellishment and then a boarding, which, I mean, did he sell it a little bit? Maybe. But, I mean, if a guy's going to sell a play by putting his face against the boards, I mean, got to give him that, I guess. But just a weird moment. The officiating in the NHL never ceases to amaze me. Do I think we take for granted sometimes how hard it is to not only watch that game, but, those referees are some crazy good athletes in their own right. But yeah, that was a tough one.
Yeah. But I mean, overall, Canes win that game. I mean, that was the only thing I just want to talk about because it was weird, but I'm not going to freak out over. So the Utah game, Andrew, this game, oh my goodness. Did the Canes probably deserve to win this game? Maybe not. Because I thought there was lots of sloppiness. Now, here's the thing. First period, I thought the first period was great. And you have Svechnikov who continues be on his goal scoring tear.
Yep, Svech is looking like he's starting to turn into the player he's always had potential to be. I think when Svech is on his A game, I think he's the best player on this team, just in terms of his ability to impact every single facet of the game. And the fact that he's playing aggressive, he's throwing hits, he's not taking a whole lot of dumb penalties in the process. And oh, by the way, the puck's going in. And oh, by the way, somehow 7 years into this, he and Aho are starting to click. Hopefully he can keep this up, man, because if this is the version of Svech and Svech with Aho that we're going to get in the playoffs, that could be what finally gets us over the hump.
It really could, because that whole line is playing very, very good. And again, I liked the first period. But when it came to the second period, Andrew, also nothing too about the first period. I mean, there are other chances where we could have scored. I would have liked for us to get more than one goal in that first period. But second period, that's when you saw Carolina. I mean, Utah. You can understand Utah is a good team. You can understand they've won 8 of their last 10 games. But I thought a lot of those goals were self-inflicted wounds for the Hurricanes, because they had trouble managing that puck for almost the rest of the game.
Yeah, if you remember earlier in the year, we were talking about this a lot, about that area between the defensive faceoff dot and a little bit before center ice, just being, for whatever reason, that was just the house of terrors for them. Just sloppy play, sloppy passes, not doing that great in the breakout, and that kind of came back again today. I'm chalking it up to them just having an extended period of time off. Rest is obviously a weapon, but there's a level of rust that you develop, and especially when you're bringing guys back into the fold like Ghost, I think that's kind of to be expected a little bit. And also, I think we also, were there mistakes? Yes, but I think we are kind of taking for granted how good that Utah team is, because, I think in 2 years that's a cup contender. I think that their top tier talent is so good and so young that if you're going to make a few mistakes like that, these are not the Phoenix Coyotes of 3 years ago. This is a team with a bunch of top picks that are starting to develop into their own. And we saw that you can't take any team in this league lightly.
No, and they didn't even play Logan Cooley and Dylan Gunther. So just imagine them out on the ice. I mean, that could have been the difference right there. But the state of the matter, the fact is the fact that they did not play for Utah. And, I mean, you have Yamamoto scoring 2 goals. The first goal, this is when, listen, I love Brandon Bussey. He did have a bit of a poor game. But at the same time, I am willing to give Brandon Bussey some grace because of how well he has been playing. It just cannot be consistently bad. That's the only thing you can't have.
No, and one game shouldn't change how we look at a goalie. I always defer back to the story about Patrick Waugh and his last game playing for Montreal, where he got lit up and he wanted out because the coach left him in. This is Patrick Waugh. If that dude had bad games, and in my opinion, he runs away with being the best goalie of all time. I don't think it's a debate about who's the best goalie of all time. I think it's a debate about who's the second best goalie of all time. If he's having bad games, Brandon Bussey's going to have a bad game. It is what it is. I know we want to be like, every single game, every shift, blah, 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 kind of stuff. No,
you can't expect perfection, though. You just can't.
No, and sometimes your goalie needs to save you a game. Sometimes you're super
the players in front of you.
Players.
Yeah.
So that's what we saw. Bussey has bailed this team out several times. It was nice to see the guys in front of him do it for a change.
Yes, even though it took them until 90 seconds left in the game. But, I mean, again, you have Yamamoto scoring twice. The second goal, again, I was a little bit irritated on just because it seems like a Utah player kind of took away Sean Walker's stick. Didn't like that. But bygones be bygones. Shane Goss is spare. He scores on the power play. And I will say this. and this is kind of linking both this game and the Ottawa game together. Power play. Oh my gosh, it's been bad.
Yeah, I was more upset by it in the Ottawa game than
Yes,
this
I
one
was too.
because especially that last power play that they had, which they did ultimately end up scoring on to start the
Yep.
comeback.
Mm-hmm.
The box Utah was putting up in front of them that was actually very impressive. I think we want to see these guys just shoot the puck the second they get it. You got to slow down sometimes and just really pay attention to what's directly in front of the shooter, because even on the power play, like, say Nikishin rifles one and it goes off the Utah defender. Now there's a break going the other way.
Yep.
And that's something that as Canes fans with guys like Aho and Jarvis on this team, we've seen that work in our favor a lot. So I think the power play has shown that it has the ability to work. I'm not overreacting too much to this little bit of a drought they've been going on, especially because they're still finding ways to score somehow.
Yes, they are.
Ugly, but it's going in. So they'll resolve it. I'm not too worried about it right now. Talk to me again in a week or two. Talk to me come the Olympic break, and if we're not seeing it click a little bit better, then I'll be more concerned.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. It's just it does a little bit take me off guard considering they've had 4 days off. You've had practice time to work on the power play, and then you see the power play perform against Ottawa. Again, you did get goals, so it's not like it's been a whole dumpster fire. It's just it's not good, especially with that. I mean, I trust the second power play unit more than the first power play unit right now, just because it's just the first power play unit can't even get set up.
Yeah, I think that first unit sometimes falls into the trap of
Being too
perfection.
fancy.
Yeah, perfection is sometimes the enemy of
Yep.
good, right? And that
Mhm.
second line or that second group, I feel like is a little bit more just north south puck on crash net.
Yep.
Whereas
More tenacity.
yeah, just a little bit more of a grindy way to go about it. Which just like how we were kind of surprised at how good Jordan Stahl looked on the power play. Mark Jankowski, power play front of the net specialist. Who would have thought?
Yeah, I know. I actually really like the idea, though. I was happy to see Jankowski just for the sole purpose of being in front of the net.
Yeah, he's, we were just talking about it a few minutes ago. This season has presented a lot of opportunities for guys. It's a matter of, are you going to take it? And I think Jankowski in these past few weeks has just absolutely seized every moment that's been given to him, to the point where, short of them needing to make lineup changes just based on them bringing somebody in, that's your fourth line center. And I'm very comfortable with that.
Yes, definitely. So, obviously, I mean, we talked about the power play. Ghost does score on the power play, and I did find his game a little bit rough because I do think he was responsible for 2 of those goals that Ottawa had. Because you have JJ Paterka scoring after that, and then in the third period, Michael Carcone, who I do not blame Bussy on. That was a total team collapse in front of Bussy there, and then with less than 2 minutes left, I was prepared to leave. I was there with my dad too. We were both prepared to leave. And then you have Ehlers going down, and the refs call it a double minor high stick. And I do feel like, Andrew, when they called that double minor, that was when Carolina got hope.
Oh yeah, I mean, way to take one for the team, Nikki. Can we talk about how Nick Ehlers, whether he's smiling after a goal or just took a stick to the face, he always just looks a little bit ticked off.
Yeah, he does.
He's just got such a stern face. It's so funny. But you get the opportunity late, and they capitalized. And I loved that it was a just put the puck towards the net, missed the net, and then Svech is able to bury it, and that's what got him rolling.
Yeah, Svech continues again. Just a great goal scoring tear that he's on. An assist by Ghost and Ehlers. You have Ghost scoring from Blake and Slavin. I did not realize when Ghost scored that second goal that was a goal. I thought that went over the net but that was just a perfect shot.
Yeah, Ghost. Definitely a shaky game, but I mean, you put 2 goals, and then that'll hide a lot of blemishes. So
It eases the pain, as the Canes say.
yes, get it together for the next game, Ghost. But I guess 2 goals is enough for us to forgive you this one time.
Yes. And then you have Jordan Stahl scoring, and then that makes it 5-4. And one epic comeback, Andrew, Carolina had with 3 goals in at the last 2 minutes of this game. And I mean, while I find that very, very impressive, Andrew, I also kind of just saw like Utah, they collapsed, man. I never saw Utah collapse. Now, granted, I haven't seen a lot of Utah games at the same time. But with that being said, I haven't seen a team collapse like that.
Yeah, you were at the game, so obviously you didn't see this. But after they scored that goal, they cut over to the bench, and just from the coach to the players, like all of them were just in shell shock at what just happened. But as Canes fans, I think, having watched what the online looked, what everything going online and social media, like a lot of people were kind of throwing in the towel in the second period. And I think about everything this team has had to overcome this year, whether it's Slavin being out, the guys getting off the slow scoring starts, the goaltending issues. Like, picture 3 months ago, and there was this random Brandon Bussey guy that we just got on waivers. All that this team has overcome this year, like, not to, oversell this one game, but like, this doesn't surprise me that they have this in them.
It's kind of the embodiment of the season they've been on, basically.
It really has. And I think, from the top down, like, I think this is the best coaching Rod's done his entire coaching career. I think we take for granted sometimes that he's, not so much anymore, but, a coach learns and gets better as he goes too.
Yeah.
And
he's gotten more goal scoring, I thought, out of these players than previous seasons.
It seems like the structure they play with is a little less, we're going to do this and nothing else. It seems like there's just a few more folds offensively, which, I mean, good on him. I think any person, whether it's sports, life, whatever field you want to talk about it, anyone can take one concept and just be like, this is what it is. That's all it is. Rod has been able to learn and evolve as a coach. And I think we're seeing it this year. Because to handle just all the punches that have been thrown this team's way, the way that they have, has been very impressive. And when you think about that, the idea of, going against one of the, granted they've been red hot lately, but, a mid-tier team in the NHL probably, them doing this, while impressive, while exciting, I'm not shocked that they have the ability to do this. Not at all.
Oh, yeah. I will agree with you on that. Another thing too, like when a coach like Brendan Moore is coaching your team, you'll immediately see this is a team that never gives up. They always play till the horn sounds at the end of the game. And that's what was showed tonight. So, Andrew, great episode. 2 great wins against Ottawa and Utah. Now we have one more game to go this month, and that is Washington Saturday.
Let's end January by beating the crap out of the craps.
Let's do it. I love it. We will see you guys next time.